All right, guys, good morning. Welcome. Glad you're here on this holiday weekend. A lot of us have school. But as we talk about mental health issues and how that affects us, I purposely dressed like this today to maybe break down those barriers, to help us to hear better, to relax, try to understand some things a little better maybe. So yeah, don't de-church me or run me out here with pitchforks because I dressed like Justin and Jacob today. Now, you've heard the statement, like father, like son. And how can you, and you can tell maybe that someone belongs to a certain family because of their characteristics that the generations pass on. The way they talk or the way they act and things like that, right? Well, this summer, over like a 3-week span, I had 2 amazing examples of that happen. One, we were at Fort Knox watching Thomas graduate his cadet summer training program up there. And he was like in the 6th regiment of, 10 or so, and there's hundreds of cadets in each regiment. And they're rotating in and out of there, overlapping, so there's hundreds of them there constantly coming and going. We're up here on a Saturday morning, and we're going to go to this auditorium where they're going to release the cadets to you to let them go eat with you, and then you bring them back, and then they'll graduate on Sunday. Well, it was raining, so we pull up, and we let Tracy, I think Laurel out with the umbrella, Levi and I parked, and we take off running. We run up and under this awning on this auditorium, and as soon as we step up on there, we're shaking the rain off. You know, we stopped right there. There's people everywhere, shaking rain off, people all around, uniforms, catching our breath. And this one dude over here in the corner with a green beret like on says, "Hey, you guys' last name Peary?" And I was like, whoo, thought about lying. It's like, "Yes, sir." He said, "You got a son named Thomas?" And again, I thought about lying. I was like, "Yes, sir." He said, "Fabulous guy, outstanding guy." Told me about the time that he got to spend with him and stuff. And me and Levi were like, what the heck just happened? Thousands of people that was going through there that summer. He'd never met us, never seen us. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he says, "I think I know you because of your son." Blew my mind. The other one was, while we were in Louisville, I took Levi and Laurel to a golf driving range. So we're going out to hit some balls, and Levi's a little bit in front of us carrying a bag of clubs, and Laurel and I were carrying balls and drinks and kind of spread out there walking. My ankle's hurting, so I wouldn't had the best gait, I didn't think. And these guys came up behind us on a cart, laughing hysterically. They'd been drinking some golf drinks, and they said, "Is this your family?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I told you." He said, and they were laughing. It's like, "Y'all all 3 walk the same way." I was like, okay, cool. Sometimes good or bad, it's easy to spot who your father is or where you come from, isn't it? Your kids and mine, they do a lot of the things that we do. Some of our kids may even sound like us when they talk. They tend to think a little like we think because, after all, we've had a lot to do with how they think, whether good or bad. They even tend to dress like us. Not really, Levi, right? Sometime, this one time, soon after, restoring a woman caught in adultery, Jesus makes a few statements that caused a little unrest. And during this conversation, Jesus made some statements like this. One of them was, I am the light of the world. The one who follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. He also said, you do not know either me or my Father. If you knew me, you would know my Father too. And Jesus also said, I do nothing on my own initiative, but I speak just what the Father taught me. He goes on to say, I always do those things that please him. Later in that same dialogue, he says, if you continue to follow my teaching, you are really my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now, this was all kind of tolerable talk up to that point, to some extent anyway. But then Jesus starts to get under their skin a little bit, get at their heart. And he says, I speak of what I have seen with my Father, and you do what you have heard from your father. And then speaking of Satan, he says, you people are from your father, the devil, and you want to do what your father desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not uphold the truth because there is no truth in him. And whenever he lies, he speaks according to his own nature because he's a liar and the father of lies. And there's no denying that Satan from time to time tells you and I the lie that our life is ruined. But do we fall into the trap of believing that? Have you ever heard about the way and the truth and the life and the hope? See, your life is not ruined as long as you still maintain the image of God that you were created in. As long as you still have the breath of life in you and the volition of the heart and mind to make decisions, your life is not ruined. There is still hope, and that hope is Jesus. Now here's where it gets a little confusing sometimes for us maybe. In the earlier dialogue, Jesus said to those who believed him, if you will follow my teaching, you're really my disciples. And then he says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Do you ever think about how do we get to know truth? That sounds so easy at first glance, doesn't it? And we tell people, well, you just need Jesus. You just need to have faith. Just trust and believe. The truth will set you free. And we really have no idea what we're talking about. But you see, some of them can cloud and distort or stand in the way of our hearing. They can alter the way that we behave and perceive with our hearts and our minds. And they can be used by Satan, the father of lies, to work to steal your hope and joy and to destroy you and kill you. And there are also things like adverse childhood experiences and trauma in all of our lives that affect the way that we think, behave, and perceive things. I'm going to tell you a story. Well, not a story, it's a factual. I hate the word story when we're talking about the Bible. It makes it seem like it's not real. I'll tell you a little bit about a guy who no doubt had it pretty rough mentally, but he came out okay in the end. His name was Joseph from the Old Testament. One of Jacob's favorite son, the one that he made this special outer garment for. You know, Satan had no doubt lied to Joseph over and over in his life, and probably many times tried to convince him that his life was over, it was ruined, and there was no hope. Joseph, as a younger boy, was criticized by his family. His brothers end up throwing him in an empty well, hole in the ground. What lies do you think Satan may have been trying to tell Joseph? Joseph was sold out of that hole by his brothers to people on their way to Egypt. And what lies do you think Satan may have been trying to tell Joseph? I think Satan may have had Joseph so messed up that he may have even been wearing Egyptian makeup now Because it's said that when he saw his brother Benjamin, when they finally, he does some trickery on him, makes him go back and get Benjamin. When he finally sees him and knows that he's alive, it says he ran to his room to weep, and he had to wash his face before he came back out to them. That's in Genesis 43, 30 and 31. Why does he have to wash his face? You know, it was the custom of the Egyptians back then. They wore a lot of makeup. You ought to see my wife on a Monday morning. If she started crying, she'd have to wash her face. And you can't help but think that he's been told this lie of who he is now. He's bought into this culture, and that's who he is. Joseph had to make a decision on who his family was and who his father was. Was Jacob his father, or was Pharaoh his father? Pharaoh, the one who had renamed him and given him gifts, a wife and family. Was it the family of God that he belonged to, or was it Pharaoh and the Egyptian culture that he belonged to? When his father Jacob died, his brothers were afraid that Joseph would turn on him for putting him in the pit to start with, where he eventually would end up as an Egyptian. And in that moment, Joseph had a decision to make. A decision of who he belonged to. Did he belong to the family of Pharaoh and had the right to destroy all of them? Or was he from the promised family of God? And was he going to forgive and restore them? Remember what he said in that moment of decision in Genesis chapter 50, starting in verse 19. He said, "But Joseph answered them, 'Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant to harm me, but God intended it for a good purpose, so he could preserve the lives of many people, as you can see this day. So now, don't be afraid. I'll provide for you and your little children.' And then he consoled them and spoke kindly to them." See, Satan no doubt told Joseph many times that his life was ruined. And Satan still today, I believe, tells you and I the lie that our life is ruined. Jesus, speaking of Satan, says he was a murderer from the beginning and does not uphold the truth, because there is no truth in him. And whenever he lies, he speaks according to his own nature, because he's a liar and the father of lies. Again, there's no denying that Satan tells you and I lies today, that our life is ruined. But do we fall into the trap of believing that? And have you ever heard about the way and the truth, the life and the hope? I want you to know there is hope again, and his name is Jesus. I want to give you this closing mission. Well, 5, that a vast majority of us in here, if not all of us in here today, are in the Lord's army, with the triune God as the head of it. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to participate in a mission if you choose to. One of the points of this series that we're in as a church is to bring hope. To bring hope to those who need it, and to bring hope to those who want to help. So our objective in this mission that we're going to do is going to be to participate in a first step. A first step to get the hope of Jesus to those who struggle with mental health issues and drug addiction issues that Satan uses to fill our minds with. So guys, like I did the last service, I want to step away and we'll take a time out a second. Take a deep breath. I want you to refocus a second. This isn't playtime. This is serious. I want you to get that prayer card out. That should be somewhere around you, whether you're on the front row or back row. I don't see anybody moving. I'm waiting. You can be late for the football game if you choose. Let's go ahead and get those prayer cards out. I'll wait on you. All right. We're going to be the first line of defense in this spiritual battle. And when we're done with these cards, we're going to place them outside in the box. I know in the other service we had offering buckets. But wherever, if you get full out there, we'll get buckets. And we're going to give those cards to one of our special Black Ops teams. Black Ops, because it's secretive. Our prayer warriors. Because it's highly secretive and confidential, and they don't let that information leak out. They don't tell anyone that you made a prayer request or who the prayer request is for. They simply complete the mission of praying for that request. A few things we're going to do here. One, you're going to write the names of those friends of yours who need prayer, who need hope on that card. You're going to write, whatever. Aaron Peary needs prayer for such and such. Put it on there. I need it. Use my name. I'd love it. I don't want you to be generic with this. Don't put down, I'll pray for all those who are struggling. No, that's not what we're doing. We want the name so that our prayer warriors, our special team can pray for that person specifically. Also, I want you to write down the names of those. If you don't know someone struggling, you live in a bubble, that's fine. Write down the names of those who we need to pray for, who want to help in this area. If you know some folks who do counseling in these areas, write their names down. There's some of them in our church. If you know of people who provide support to individuals going through mental health crisis in any capacity, providing food, clothing, counseling, whatever, write their name down to be prayed for so that God would provide for them, protect them, and help them to ultimately speak the hope of Jesus into folks. I'm giving you time to write. If you need more cards, steal one out of another seat. Right now, you may be the one who needs to be carried to Jesus. You may need help clearing out your mind and filling it up with Jesus. If that's you, write your name down here and say, I want to speak to someone. Justin or Jacob, they'll talk to you. If it goes beyond what they can help you with spiritual, they'll refer you to someone else that can get you the help you need. And then I want you to consider this. If I am under the commander of the army of the Lord that Joshua met, what does it look like for me to be one of his special agents? To be one of the special forces units of the Lord's army? What does it look like for me to be one of those people that goes to save a person with problems? What does it look like for me to go to the bad part of town, to get dirty, to get sweaty, physically carry somebody and cry with them, to take a roof apart, or physically help bust down and break down barriers to get them to the hope, Jesus? What would it look like if we were to adopt the leave no man behind attitude that this unit displayed when they got that guy to Jesus? What does that look like in your life? Yes, to know the truth will set you free, and greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. And just believe in Jesus, and on and on. But folks, like it or not, each and every one of us is in some degree involved in a spiritual battle against spiritual